Brace yourself for an offensive explosion as the game's most dangerous weapons try to match strike for strike. Tonight's a night where points are plenty and defenders look for a way to survive. They call it running the table, and that's the game Minnesota now finds itself in. The Vikings are fighting for their playoff lives. Any more falls could prove fatal. Joe Theismann and Mark Malone. Welcome to Pontiac, Michigan for the NFL on ESPN. With a win tonight, Dennis Green and the Minnesota Vikings can pull into a three-way tie for the number 2 wild card spot in the NFC. Backup quarterback Brad Johnson has given Green more than he could have possibly hoped for. Johnson comes into tonight's game as the second-rated passer in the NFL. And Joe, with the weapons he has and Detroit's problems on defense, the Vikings are thinking big numbers tonight.
Well, Michael, Wayne Fontes needs to protect a defense that's really undersized and undermanned. And to do that, his offense has got to control the game. The Lions have a lot of big play weapons on that side of the ball. And tonight they're going to feature one of the most dangerous of the bunch, Barry Sanders. He has had some huge games in his career against Minnesota. And when I talked to him the other day, he was really looking forward to the challenge of knocking off a division rival and a playoff contender.
All right, Joe, when these two teams met in week 1, Sanders and the Lions offense had a huge day, but 5 turnovers enabled Minnesota to steal a 17-13 win. And just a reminder, Mark Malone will be with us throughout the night, taking a look at key matchups and trends in his Spotlight segments. Vikings won the toss. They will receive Jason Hanson. The strong-legged kicker out of Washington State has it teed up for Kadri Ismail and David Palmer, who are deep to receive. The Lions mathematically alive, but just that. The Vikings in much better shape, but they need to win tonight. Kadri from the 3. Takes it across to the 23-yard line. For Minnesota's offense, Brad Johnson starts. Johnson has been exceptional, ranked 2nd in the NFL behind only Brett Favre. Jake Reed is having a monster year, averaging nearly 20 yards a catch, and coming into the weekend is 1,158 yards, number 1 in the NFL. Up front, David Dixon has made a big difference in the run game. At nearly 350 pounds, he is an extremely physical blocker. Warren Moon will not play again tonight because of the ankle injury. He should be at full speed by next week. But if Johnson continues to win, there probably will not be a change at quarterback. Play action, first play. Porsche chasing Brad Johnson. He gets as much out of it as he can and then goes out of bounds. Porsche leads that Lion defensive line. He has 8 sacks, number 1 on the club. He needs 1 more for a new career high. Reggie Brown hasn't been able to play much because of injuries, but when he has, the number 1 pick has shown all the skills of a big-time linebacker. An up-and-down year for Ryan McNeil. He's given up a lot of big plays, but he also leads the team in interceptions. 2nd and 2 after Johnson scrambled. Leroy Horde. Robert Porsche waiting right there. McNeil comes up to help out.
Mike, you can look for the Minnesota Vikings most of tonight to really try and run behind Hunter Goodwin, number 87, their tight end. That's a huge side. Dixon, Stringer, and Goodwin average well over 300 pounds. Porsche does a nice job on Corey Stringer. You wouldn't feel like a guy that's outweighed by almost 40 pounds can take on the big guy up top and hold his own.
Porsche, an inside player last year, didn't like it back at defensive end. Amp Lee checks in on 3rd and 3. The last 3 games, Brad Johnson has spread it around, and they've been great on 3rd down. Just like that. It's Ampley coming out, or David Palmer coming out of the backfield.
The reason why the Minnesota Vikings have been more successful and done such a great job is Brad Johnson moves around and really hits the underneath guys. Warren Moon likes to go down the field a little bit more, and he really hadn't been healthy most of the year. But Brad can slide around just a little bit, give you a little more mobility when he's healthy to get the ball to the backs and to the tight ends.
And by dumping it off, his completion percentage is way up. Two tight ends in the ball game, one back. That's Horde. Johnson wants the screen to Leroy Horde. Good, tough run by Leroy Horde, beautifully following his blockers to the Lions' 46.
Mike, Leroy Horde has become such a valuable part of this offense because he's doing the things that he feels like he does well. Running inside and just running screens. He doesn't feel like he's down the field 20 yards. Brad Johnson does a good job of letting the defense come to him, and then he breaks out into the open. We may see a lot more of these against the Lions tonight because, in truth, the Lions linebackers don't run that well.
Horde started the year with Baltimore, went to Carolina, didn't get a chance in either place. The Vikings were desperate, and he has paid off. Horde hammers his way down to the 42-yard line. Benny Blades hammers right back, coming up from the safety spot. A week ago, Blades said, anybody that wants to quit on this team, you come see me. He also volunteered to Jim Eddy, I'll go out and play by myself if the rest of these guys don't want to play defense. And you know what? He would.
I'll tell you something. I know this is a little bit of a cliche, but this guy does have the heart of a lion.
Blades really banged up his numbers in his career. Just always been a big play player, and he's done it without much speed at all. Johnson has to scramble. Dropped right in the hands of Greg DeLong. The tight end has only caught 11 passes all year long. Corey Raymond was there, but a catchable ball.
What Corey does is Corey has an opportunity to get to the ball before the tight end can put it away. DeLong can't get it into his hands. Watch this. It's in his hands. See that? And Raymond just sticks his hand in before he can get it in around his body. That's just good, quick hands.
Third down 7 on Minnesota's opening drive. Four-man rush. Johnson throws to Ampley. First down and a lot more. Lee to the 24-yard line.
Mike, that's just a case of Ampley coming out, putting a move on Reggie Brown, number 59, and going inside. Brian Bellick, the offensive coordinator, likes the matchups he has in this game. That is his backs right here on the linebacker right there. He's just going to go out and run an angle. Once this linebacker gets outside, he can't cover for him. There's the move. Up inside quick. Middle of the field's cleared out. Now Amp can just run where he wants.
The Lions ranked 22nd in the NFL in defense. They have had a tough time stopping people. Horde on the delay. Can't get outside. He'll lose a yard. Nice defense by Keith Washington out of UNLV, who comes up to make the stop.
I'd be surprised if you saw any more delays or any deep handoffs from the Minnesota Vikings tonight. When you've got a big offensive line like they have on the right side, get the ball to Leroy no deeper than 5 yards and let your backs get isolated on linebackers. A play that deep doesn't really give the defense a chance to get out of the way. I mean, they're not fast enough to run away.
Much like Minnesota's defense. Johnson straight back, dumps it off. What a catch by Evans on his hip near the 20-yard line. He's covered by Greg Jeffries. Evans with excellent concentration on that one.
I talked about matchups. We've seen Brad Johnson try and throw one to the tight end, 3 to the backs. Looks to me like Minnesota wants to work their backs against the Detroit Lion linebackers, and if this is the trend, they have the advantage right now.
And 3 different backs as well. 3rd and 6, Ampley, number 32, in there now. Johnson throws. He has the first down at the 11-yard line. The completion to Kadre Ismail. McNeil on the coverage. And Brad Johnson has been sharp.
Good protection on the left side. That's 64, Randall McDaniel. Does a nice job on Henry Thomas. They slide it over. He picks up Luther Ellis. Doesn't let him anywhere near it. Look at the time Brad has. Very accurate thrower. When I was visiting with Warren Moon down on the field before the game, he said, watching Brad work in practice, you have to be impressed by his accuracy.
5 out of 6 so far, 57 yards. Quarterback, that was not even a draw because he didn't take a step backwards. That's just a big-time quarterback sneak straight up.
Quarterbacks have always had the luxury. If you think you can pick up the yards on 1st and 10 down there, just go quick count. This is something between the center and the quarterback. You get up and you go quick.
This has not been the area where the Vikings offense has been the most productive. Only 3 teams worse than the Vikings. However, Brad Johnson has been superb. 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. His rating leads the NFL. Evans and Horde in there together. Horde pounds his way inside the 5, dragging Robert Forshea with it.
Mike, I've always believed that there's 2 areas that you can expose a defense on down around the goal line. One, you get your matchups. You got Jake Reed and Chris Carter, so you work way outside on the perimeter. The other thing that Dennis Green's offense can do is continue the mismatch that you think you have a running back on a linebacker down here. So I'd look for him to go way out wide to try and get it to in the end zone or work to one of the backs.
This will be the 13th play of this drive. It has taken already over 7 minutes. 3rd and 3. Can't find anybody. Forshea gets the sack at the 14. He now has a career high 9 sacks this year.
Boy, that's a good job by the corners. Such a great job by the Lion corners. They came up big here. There's Ryan McNeil. Carter, nowhere to go here. Brad's got to go back to the left. Up top, Corey Raymond on Jake Reed. Jake's not working. See, Jake thinks the ball's not coming to me, so he's not working that hard.
Scott Sisson comes on to try the field goal of 31 yards. And he knocks it through. So the Vikings, with a 13-play drive, make that 14. More than 7 minutes, they get a field goal.
Can MasterCard help stop?
ESPN Sunday Night NFL is brought to you by Lucent Technologies. We make things that make communications work. By the Panasonic Palmcorder Camcorder. Its tapes play in your VCR. And by Honda. Vehicles designed to help simplify your life.
Only 7 minutes, 16 seconds to go first quarter. That is Mitch Berger who has it set up to kick from the 30-yard line. Aubrey Matthews and Glenn Milburn, one of the most dangerous return men in the NFL. Deep to receive. That's Milburn, who is number 3 in the league, averaging 26.3 a return. Crushed. 7 yards deep. Milburn will bring it out anyway. Glenn Milburn to the 27-yard line. 34-yard kickoff return. The Lions will get their first chance when we come back. Brad Johnson is a free agent at the end of this year. They have already started negotiations with him. Warren Moon will be healthy next year, but the way Brad Johnson is playing, it may not make a difference. They may not make a change.
Well, I don't think they should, Mike, to be perfectly honest with you. When you've got things going like the Minnesota Vikings have it going right now on offense, I think they ought to stay with that. The good thing is, as Warren Moon continues to get healthy, in case something does happen, their quarterback situation is in great shape.
Impressive opening drive. The Lions will start near their own 28-yard line. Barry Sanders. If you're on defense, you just hold your breath. For the Lions offense, it's been a struggle for Scott Mitchell. All of his numbers are off. He has more interceptions than touchdown passes. Another all-pro year for Herman Moore. He is the first Lion ever to have 3 years with over 1,000 yards receiving. Up front, rookie Jeff Hardings, a first-round draft choice, very polished. Wayne Font says he will be a fixture there for a long, long time. First down at the 40. Sanders on the toss. He just makes you look so bad no matter what kind of position you're in. He disappears.
Unbelievable. Boy, Dwayne Washington is still looking for him, Mike. He knows he saw him go by, but he has no idea. Watch this move. They want the Minnesota Vikings tackle the outside leg. Well, he didn't even get a hand on it. That doesn't count in one-hand touch. Unbelievable move. Gosh, is he wonderful to watch.
He has just passed John Riggins for number 7 all-time, Marcus Allen, the next man in his sights at number 6. And if he can stay healthy, this guy is the number 1 yardage leader ever in 5 years. A big dose of Barry Sanders down to the 46. For the Vikings defense, John Randall leads the NFL's interior lineman with 10.5 sacks. In the last 5 years, he's racked up 68 sacks. Jeff Brady has bounced around the league, but may have found a home in Minnesota playing the middle. He's number 1 in tackles. Dwayne Washington, a big play man and a ball-hawking secondary. He is very physical and closes on the ball extremely well. Well, this is what fans around here have always said. Hey, just give it to Barry Sanders. Mitchell to throw for the first time. Herman Moore breaks the tackle. Herman Moore to the 25. We said you'd see some offense.
Well, you got it, too. Now, Scott Mitchell needed that, Mike, very badly. He's a quarterback whose confidence is a little bit shaken, but what Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, wants to do is give him an easy pass to complete. Now you let Herman Moore, as big as he is, he's very powerful, not very easy to bring down. You think he's a big, lanky, long target. He gets power to get away from you.
Moore just ran through the arm tackle of Corey Fuller. The Lions tearing off yardage in major chunks. Sanders dancing in the hole and hit maybe for the loss of a yard. Harlan Barnett makes the tackle. Minnesota comes into the game missing their 2 outside starting linebackers, Darryl Talley and Dixon Edwards. One with a knee, the other with a hamstring. There's Dixon Edwards, the Dallas free agent. And Darryl Talley, the 14-year veteran who has been troubled by a bad knee this year.
Big thing that this Minnesota Viking defense wants to do is not allow Barry Sanders to try and get outside. So far, he's done it a couple times for big games.
Here comes the blitz. Mitchell unloads. Perriman makes the catch. First down.
That was a good job by Scott Mitchell. He read the defense, and he got the ball out in a hurry. The thing that he has not been doing, Mike, is being very decisive with the football. You've seen him hesitate. In any games you've watched, he sort of starts to go and then he stops. Right now, he's a lot more productive, and he's making good decisions. 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions, and 118 drop-back passes. That's not good.
That means 1 out of every 6 times he drops back, it's either a sack or an interception. That's a terrible ratio.
And it doesn't give any confidence to the offensive line either.
3rd and 6 after the short game. And the Lions have used a timeout. Timeout on the field. 3:34 to go first period. 3-0 Vikes. That's Scotty Graham, but during the week, he plays Barry Sanders for the Vikings defense so they can get ready.
And, you know, when he starts the week, he comes out and he says, guys, I'm going to give you a good look. Dwayne Washington, the cornerback, says, yeah, right. We appreciate the effort, but it's not quite the same.
He puts on the number 20, but it hasn't fooled anybody yet. Whistle, stop the play. Jerry Mark Bright, our referee tonight.
That's Pete Metzelaars, number 89.
Start, number 89, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Mark Bright, an outstanding official. And there's Metzelaars, the veteran, played most of his career with Buffalo.
And Mike, believe me, Pete Metzelaars is in a position he never thought he'd be in, as playing a lot for the Detroit Lions. He thought he'd come in here, play a little golf, relax a little bit, be a good backup. He's been pressed into hard duty.
David Sloan was the guy they thought they were going to go with, but he was injured early in the year. They were counting on him. 3rd and 11 now for Detroit. Mitchell having trouble finding anybody and sacked back at the 32.
We talked about the great job that the Detroit Lions secondary did when they were stopping Minnesota from trying to score. Same thing happened with the Vikings defense here. That's a great coverage sack. Herman Moore going out, trying to run a route, and out, He doesn't have the time. Scott Mitchell doesn't see him, doesn't have the time to get the ball off.
Fernando Smith gets the sack, and now you've made Jason Hanson kick a much longer field goal. This is from 48, and if it doesn't go through, you can blame it on Scott Mitchell for taking the sack. And Hanson is wide right from 48 yards. Timeout, first quarter, 3-0 Vikings. Before tonight's game and around all the NFL games this weekend, a moment of silence for Pete Rozelle, the former commissioner who passed away at his California home. A pioneer and a visionary, and much of the success of pro football can be traced to the efforts and the vision of Pete Rozelle.
Michael, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today having the opportunity to broadcast these games if it hadn't been for a man with such great vision.
Minnesota with that 3-0 lead takes over just outside its own 42-yard line. Johnson throws underneath, got it to Chris Carter. For about a 4-yard gain. Ryan McNeil was right there with him.
It's a good play on 1st and 10. You get your quarterback set back quick. You let your line fire block. I mean, look at your receiving core. You got Jake Reed, you got Chris Carter, you got Kadri Ishmael. I mean, you have to respect the speed so that you let them run a quick 4 or 5-yard hit. Bang, you come up 2nd down and shorter.
They ran that first drive without going to either one of their big outside stars. Horde behind the power blocking. Leroy Horde to midfield, first down. Join ESPN Thursday evening for a night of gridiron greats. It starts at 7:30 with the Pro Bowl selection show. Watch as we announce this year's squads. Then at 8:30, we honor the top collegians, coaches, and teams on the Home Depot College Football Awards Show. It's a night of gridiron greats from Walt Disney World in Orlando, Thursday beginning at 7:30. Leroy Horde has made a huge difference in this offense. He has shown it already in this ball game as Minnesota has moved slightly into Lions territory. Johnson, pump fake. Wants to go long, defender and receiver fell down. This will be a flag. And then it's intercepted deep downfield, picked off by Van Malone. Play is still alive, and Malone back across the 40, but the penalty marker went down immediately.
Oh, Mike, sometimes you say that's a bad play by a defender. I don't think so. If you're beat and you're beat bad, sometimes the best thing you can do as a defender is grab the receiver as he tries to go by.
And it was the pump fake by Brad Johnson that set it up.
Corey Raymond is going to take the bite. Watch this. He takes the bite. Now, he just really tackles him. He gets beat. And, you know, that is not a bad play, because if he doesn't do that, it's a cinch touchdown.
It's 18 yards as opposed to an easy score.
Right. Sometimes you take the lesser of the problems, and that was one there.
The corners have had trouble for the Detroit Lions. Scotty Graham checks in for the first time. Graham will get the carry. Nice hole off the left side. And brought down by Pepper Johnson, the middle linebacker, the 11-year veteran who had a couple of Super Bowl rings with the Giants, and comes in here as the linebacking core really changed around. Last year they had Mike Johnson, Tracy Hayworth, Chris Spielman, who I thought was the heart of this defense, and is going to be the heart of any defense when you put them on.
And I think that's where the biggest mistake was made. You got Michael Brooks and Pepper Johnson in the middle. I mean, you're talking about guys with 21 years of experience. You might have given up a guy who wasn't as fast, but you can't replace a Chris Spielman.
Henry Thomas jumped early. I mean, there's certain players you identify with teams. You know, these guys just feel like they belong. Chris Spielman was one of them, and they let him go.
Encroachment foul, number 98 defense. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Mike, I think this is one of the great things that quarterbacks can do. You have a lot of weapons at your disposal. This is a hard count by Brad Johnson. What you're going to do now is you're going to get the defensive line to sit back a little bit. Take them off of trying to figure out your count and get that little bit of edge on your offensive line. He is a complete quarterback.
Detroit has been penalized 3 times for 27 yards. The Vikings have not drawn a flag. 2nd and 1. Play action by Johnson. Intended for Frisch. Nice defense by Benny Blades. Boy, I like the play calling for the Vikings so far.
Well, Brian Bellick is doing a lot of different things. He's making you defend the wide receivers. He's making you defend screens. He's matching up running backs on linebackers. This time he runs his tight end out after a play action fake. Jim Eddy, the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions now, has got a lot of things to worry about. Brian has sort of played his hand a little bit early in this game, and he said, hey, Jim, you're going to have to defend the entire field from sideline to sideline, deep and short.
Thought Jim Eddy did a sensational job when he was in Houston. He doesn't have nearly as many weapons now in his first year in Detroit. Johnson to throw on 3rd and short. Got it to David Palmer. Wrapped up by Blades at the 20. That's a first down. Brad Johnson looks so comfortable back there.
He is. And even talking to him. Remember when he came in yesterday? We talked to him before the Oakland game. He seemed a little nervous,
yes,
a little apprehensive. He looked really confident yesterday.
And he looks confident here in the first quarter. The first period is over. 3-0 Vikings.
McDonald's presents the breakaway of the day.
It came in the 3rd quarter of the Packers-Broncos game. Brett Favre to Antonio Freeman. It's a 51-yard touchdown. You think this photographer, Mike, got a good picture of it all? Picture this. 41-6 Packers over the Broncos.
Hey, Boomer, to his credit, he got right back up and tried to take a picture. You want breakaway? This is heartbreak. You know, Boomer for coach. Hey, it might happen.
You never know.
Johnson dumps it, complete to Evans inside the 15-yard line. Pepper Johnson and Antonio London were there for Detroit.
Again, this time he works Charlie Evans on Antonio London. It's backs against backers.
Johnson has been nearly perfect. That is not really Warren Moon's style. He is much more a vertical passer.
Right, he pushes the ball down the field to the wide receivers a little bit more.
And Lee gets a rare carry. Lost the ball, but he was down. They will mark it just outside the 10. That's where they have to get for the first down.
What he's doing is he's trying to reach at the end and gain the extra yards. As you see him break through the line. Good hole, good tackle. He reaches out now. Remember, the ground cannot cause a fumble, and that's basically what happened when he reached out.
3rd and less than a yard. Four out of 5 tonight, and in the last 3 games they are the best in the NFL. 4 out of 5 would be the best in any league ever created. And Detroit uses a timeout on defense. Back in a moment.
ESPN Sunday Night NFL is brought to you by Cadillac and your Cadillac dealers, by McDonald's, official break of the NFL, and by the Visa check card. It works just like a check, only better.
With Philadelphia losing the other night, the Redskins losing today, this is a golden opportunity for the Minnesota Vikings. A win, they become 8-6, tie for the 2nd wild card spot, and they would have better tiebreaker situations than either one of those other 2 teams. Johnson again on that quick quarterback sneak, and he plows forward for 3.
What you do is you spread out the field. You put receivers on both sides, 2 and 2. You got 4 people out. Look, nobody in the middle of the football field. Anywhere he wants to go, he has a chance to pick up the first down. Again, that is not a called play. That is something that is decided between the quarterback and the center. He either gives him a little pinch or a little nudge, and he says, go. Wayne can't believe it.
Scotty Graham comes in on 1st and goal from the 7. Johnson throws. That was almost intercepted in the end zone, nearly picked off by Corey Raymond.
Mike, I think that this is what the Detroit Lions will have to do, especially down close. They've got to try and blitz Brad Johnson. Of course, the defensive back's got to play a little bit closer, and you can see Corey's just focusing on Jake Reed. I mean, it's not the best style of defense, but he becomes effective. I think the only way that you're going to stop this Minnesota offense is not to allow Brad Johnson the time to throw the ball.
Corey Raymond made sure he took the inside away from Reed. Ampley to the 3-yard line. It will be 3rd and goal from there.
Big 3rd down here for both teams. Minnesota can do what people have done, wear down this Detroit team by scoring and taking them out of their game. If Detroit can come up on defense and it's only a 6-point lead, gives them a little confidence that their offense can move the ball.
Well, the Lions defense has been on the field nearly the entire first half so far. The opening drive was over 7 minutes. 23 plays to 7. In the flat, Ampley, touchdown.
Again, it's a back on a backer, Mike. I mean, I can just keep repeating it. Ampley on Reggie Brown, number 59. What you do is you take the receivers, run them inside, swing that back out, and let him go one-on-one with the linebacker. You see the 2 wide receivers clear. Linebacker has to try and run inside. You could say it's a pick, but it doesn't really matter.
There's just so much traffic in there. If you start inside, there's almost no way you can get back outside. Scott Sisson for the point after. The Minnesota Vikings have made it look easy on 2 drives, and they lead it 10-0. Vikings with a 10-0 lead early 2nd quarter here in the Pontiac Silverdome, and they have totally dominated play so far. They have simply held on to it and kept it away from the Lions defense. 24 plays to 7. Time of possession, it's over 3-1.
And Mike, that's been their problem all year. Coming into this game, the offense had the ball 26 minutes, and their defense was on the field for 34. I mean, there's an 8-minute per game difference in how long the offense keeps the ball.
Aubrey Matthews is back there with Milburn, who returned the opening kickoff, 34 yards. Takes this one from the 3. Glenn Milburn. The NFL's best pregame show, NFL Countdown, every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. as Chris Berman and the gang preview all the action. Then at 7 p.m. prime time, where you'll see all the highlights of all the day's games. And at 8 p.m., we'll be in Jacksonville as Mark Brunell and the Jaguars take on the Seattle Seahawks. And the Jaguars got themselves right in the middle of the playoff picture today, beating Houston to go 7-7. How about this for a couple of expansion teams? Mitchell to throw on first down, has it complete out to Perriman, who rolls forward to the 35-yard line.
Mike, it is paramount now that if nothing else, this Detroit Lion offense stays on the field for a while. They've got to give their defense some rest. It's been a problem all year letting that defense play too much. But they're hitting the short passes. They're doing some good things. They got Barry running early. Now they've got to go into that mix.
It will be 2nd and 3. Derek Price, number 82, comes in at tight end. Mitchell. Herman Moore. Fuller tried to strip the ball, but Moore gets down near the 43-yard line.
Well, there was a case where Scott Mitchell did a good job staying in the pocket. It was a quick 3-step drop. He pumped a little bit. Moore starts up and stops. Little quick hitch. Stop. Now start to go. But he does a good job. Herman Moore just doesn't keep on running. He gets in a spot where Scott Mitchell can make a throw to him.
Herman Moore in his 6th year out of Virginia, the first player in Lions history, over 1,000 yards 3 different times. Sanders on the toss. Cuts it back, now goes outside. It just takes your breath away.
Oh, he does. You know, you talk about the people in the stands holding their breath, and of course the defense, we do it too. But he's got such sensational feet. Here goes Barry's feet. Starts out, not in a hurry. The little feet aren't in a hurry. It's la-di-da-di-da. Then it stops. Now it starts up. He goes, hold it. Let's go this way. Look at those feet.
Look at those
Look at
thighs.
Look at his stuff. I mean, it doesn't look like he's running, and nobody can catch him.
Just
what a
amazing.
great piece of camera work, too. Way to go, troops.
Spot the ball inside the 40. The injured player is Orlando Thomas, who last year led the NFL in interceptions with 9, has 4 this year. Sanders, you look like you have him trapped all at once. You got a handful of air, and he's got another 10 yards. Barry Sanders has more losing yardage runs than anybody, but he also has more over 10, more over 20, more over 30.
And?
Well, he doesn't have more over 40.
But he's
tied for second. It's just remarkable, the stuff he does. Absolutely remarkable. Maybe the best thing about him, he has no ego whatsoever. He's just a total team player.
But you know, Mike, I remember watching him on Thanksgiving Day a little bit. I think he's playing with more emotion this year on the sidelines than I've ever seen him before. I mean, he feels the anguish and the struggle of this football team. And even though he tries to take the responsibility on his shoulders, he knows he can't do it alone. Orlando Thomas looks like he probably rolled his ankle trying to keep up with Barry's. See the left one go over? That's just trying to stop like Barry Sanders stops.
Mitchell to throw on first down. And what a catch. Herman Moore, and a flag down at the end of the play as he got hit in the head. Herman Moore just turned around and launched his body in the opposite direction to make a catch. And then Harlan Barnett came up and drilled him after the play.
Herman Moore is going to make an inside break after he gets off of Fuller. He starts inside. Watch him come back for the ball. Look at this great individual play. Now he's on the ground. He's unprotected, and then he gets smashed. And you know, Mike, I mean, when a guy is down, he doesn't hit him with his helmet. He hits him with his elbow, though, and that's what I believe the call was.
Forearm shot to the head.
When Harlan Barnett came in with the elbow, that's what they called the unnecessary roughness on.
And that's a good call. There's no reason for that. And Harlan Barnett, if you could read lips, you could see saying that's a bad call.
Yeah, but, you know, I don't think he intentionally went in there trying to hurt him. He just got his elbow in.
Well, he has every right to hit him. He has every right to hit him hard. I don't think you have a right to go down and put a forearm to a guy's helmet when he's laying on the ground. Back in a moment. 10-0 Vikings. Herman Moore trying to clear the cobwebs. And as we go back to this last play, Joe, I agree with you. I don't know that there is a penalty infraction on this play.
But you see, watch Herman Moore now. Instead of trying to defend himself, he's sort of sitting up in the air waiting for somebody to come in. He is sitting there defenseless, but he's got his head up like a chicken looking around waiting for somebody to take it off.
And in Barnett's defense, the play is still alive. The whistle is not blown. Herman Moore has not been touched. I would have liked to seen him hit him anywhere but the head.
Yeah, but then if he hits him in the back, you know, it could be. It's hard to say, Mike. I just think that as a player, as long as the whistle hasn't blown, you got to be prepared for somebody to come and try and take your head off.
You're absolutely right.
I think Herman got caught with his head up just a little bit.
And he almost did get his head taken off.
And it's good to see he's up and around. I'm sure he'll be back.
It is a first down for the Lions. Aubrey Matthews, number 83, checks in Herman Moore's spot. Sanders. Let's check in with Mark Malone. Mark?
Mike, I'm standing down here on the sideline watching the coaching staff for the Detroit Lions lobbying to get Harlan Barnett thrown out of this football game. Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, was just incensed that Barnett was not thrown out. They just took Moore to the locker room. He looks like he's okay. He's complaining of some soreness down the one side of his neck. It might just be a pinched nerve. I'm sure it's precautionary at this point. Mike?
All right, Mark. Thank you. 2nd and 11. Johnny Morton is in the slot, number 87. Here comes the blitz. Mitchell unloads. Perriman can't get there. Nice defense by Dwayne Washington.
That ball's got to be thrown up higher. I mean, what happens is the ball comes in a little bit low. You got a small receiver anyway. You want to try and dump it over the top. Washington inside position does a nice job of running with Perriman. See how the ball is flat? He just gets his left hand up. If that ball is thrown up and over the outside a little bit, Perriman's got a better chance of making the ball, and all of a sudden he gets in between the defender and the ball.
3rd and 11. Mitchell guns it. Touchdown, Morton.
Good job of blocking by Zephyrus Moss on John Randall. Just give Scott Mitchell the time. And Johnny Morton, and that's not a pretty pass, but it's effective. I think that Johnny Morton could be one of the best kept secrets in this league. I think this kid's terrific.
Jason Hansen for the point after.
Boy, the Lions needed that, Mike. They really needed to come back. They needed to give their defense some rest.
And they have cut the lead to 3. Scott Mitchell with his 16th touchdown pass of the season.
Welcome back to Pontiac, Michigan. Randall McDaniel in our Packard Bell spotlight. They may be running the football to the right, but when you throw the football, they depend on the 8-year pro, the 9-year pro for the pass blocking. Look how you set strong on the line of scrimmage. He hands off the game with Christie, does a great job with Ellis. And then watch the hands inside. Again, against Ellis. Does a pretty good job of holding him on the line of scrimmage, and this is why, because earlier he almost gets bull rush here as he gets the hands outside as a guard. And that's almost a problem. McDaniel, a great guard in this league, Mike.
And Mark, he needs that technique at 278 pounds. He's almost a throwback to the old days. Palmer will take it 3 yards deep in the end zone and keep it there. Let's go back to Mark.
Mike, here are the numbers so far on Randall McDaniel. He's got that strange stance, but look at this. No quarterback hits allowed, no opponent tackles. He's not gotten any helper for a double team out of 22 total plays. Again, he does such a great job of setting strong on the line of scrimmage, and it allows them to use other offensive linemen to try to double up on some of the pass rushers like Porsche.
Here is a remarkable statistic for you. They said last year, not just last game or last week, Randall McDaniel did not miss an assignment. Last year. Ford, the deep man, he'll get the carry. Leroy Hort up to the 23-yard line.
You take a look at Randall McDaniel's stance. He'll drop his left foot all the way back into what really looks like the most uncomfortable position in the world. And what he's done is this was a result of a knee injury, and he wanted to get out play. See how this foot is back? See how everybody else is square, and his feet are back at an angle like that? I mean, but yet it allows him to give such great pop with that right hand. Look at it. See how it goes back? How awkward is that?
2 tight ends in. Horde on the toss. Great defensive play. Antonio London from the linebacker spot got him and flipped him.
But Mike, that is not what Leroy Horde's strength is. We saw him run outside to the right on the first down. We see him come wide left on the second. He is much more effective as a runner if you're going to work him inside the tackle. If you want to do that, probably you put Amp Lee in.
And it's a little surprising to see it with the big weight advantage they have on that offensive line against Detroit's defense. And there is Amp Lee on 3rd and 6. Good protection for Johnson. Complete first down. Chris Carter near the 40-yard line. Gain of 15 for Chris Carter, his 600 50th catch. He has just moved past Charlie Taylor, number 10 all-time, all by himself.
I think what's a real problem for defenses is Chris Carter's ability to work in the slot. Look at him look outside and see where the corner is. You saw him when he came off the line to check the corner. Then as he gets out into his route. Now, Brad Johnson's just getting great time. And like we said before, very accurate.
Minnesota has had no trouble moving the ball. Horde. Nice cutback. Leroy Horde for 10. Benny Blades made the tackle. Before Leroy Horde showed up here 3 games ago, this running game was absolutely horrid after Robert Smith was hurt. Only 25 yards a game for 3 games. 3 games with Horde, 127 yards rushing, and you can see what it does for their defense. It keeps the defense off the field. Run defense and run offense are linked with one another no matter how you cut it. 2 tight ends on second and a foot. Horde first down into Detroit territory to the 48-yard line. Horde is just happy to be anywhere. Right now, so is Dennis Green. I'll tell you what else. All the rumors about Lou Holtz and his future circulating. Isn't it funny, though, in the last 3 weeks, how little you've heard when it starts quieted to down a lot. I think the thing Brian Bellick, the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, has to be thinking now, he's crossed the 50-yard line. And offensive coaches have little areas in their mind. I'm converting 3rd downs. Brad's doing a good job. So I might be able to take a little play-action shot and go up top with one of my big people here. They tried the 1 deep ball. It resulted in an interference call. Johnson throws that one nearly picked off, intended for Jake Reed down at the 30. Good job by Ryan McNeil, the corner over there. Gets up. He's a tall corner. I mean, you know, it works when you got Jake Reed at 6'3" and Chris Carter at 6'3", but now all of a sudden Ryan McNeil at 6'2", he can go in there and get up with them. So you're not worried about big body on big body. Had a good shot at the INT that time. 10 out of 14 so far for Johnson, 87 yards. He faces a 2nd and 10 from the 49. Over the middle to Carter. Cuts outside London and gets the first down. Nice piece of running by Chris Carter. I think Chris Carter is so sensational on the inside routes. He reminds me an awful lot of Tim Brown. I think those 2 guys are the best slot inside guys in the league. He just looks at defense. Look at him look inside. See how he checks out people? He sees where everybody is. He sees where the throwing lane is. Now he knows where he has to get to for the first down, and he lunges for it. 974 yards on the year for Chris Carter. It would be the 4th time he has gone over 1,000 yards in his brilliant career. Back to Leroy Horde. Dancing, cutting it back, getting as much as he can out of it inside the 35-yard line. Coming up at halftime, Chris Berman with the fastest 3 minutes in television, and boy, will he have some highlights from today. Congratulations to the Panthers. Carolina is on a roll, and the very confusing situation about bowl bids. And not only that, the Panthers are undefeated at home, and they will finish the season at home with the next 2 games. Imagine being in the same division with San Francisco, an expansion team, and having a shot at winning the division in the 2nd year. And Williams. The Vikings are just carving up Detroit's defense. Mike, I think besides Leroy Horde, David Dixon was inserted in that game in Oakland, number 71. I got to draw a big circle because he's a big guy. Watch what he does. He's 360 pounds, but he can get outside. Now, that's a mismatch when he's up against Benny Blades, and then he's just driving him back. You know, they say he's 350. No, not. I don't think so. Minnesota has converted 7 of 8 third downs tonight. Here comes the blitz. They pick it up. Jake Reed powers his way for more yardage against Corey Raymond. Well, what haven't they done that works? I know now why Jim Eddy does not want to blitz Brad Johnson all night, because Corey Raymond has given him 7-8 yards of cushion. Ryan McNeil isn't quite back that far, but if Brad Johnson sees the blitz,
He's just going to find who's ever on Corey Raymond's side and run a 8 to 10 yard hook on him, and he's not going to be anywhere around him.
Corey Raymond at 5'11", trying to match up with Chris Carter at 6'3" or Jake Reed at 6'3". Another long drive. The first one over 7 minutes. This one is approaching 6. 2 tight ends into the lineup. Ford cuts it back. Runs into a lot of traffic and gets down to the 14-yard line. Herman Moore back on the sideline after being shaken up early.
He may have a little stiff neck now, Mike. Tomorrow morning, it'll be a lot stiff. Probably Harlan Barnett will get one of those little letters from the league office that says we'd like to have you make a donation to one of our charities.
Yeah, there will be a 4-letter word in there, and it's spelled F-I-N-E. Johnson with time over the middle, complete, touchdown, Jake Reed. He beat Van Malone, and another strike from Brad Johnson.
It's tough to match up against these wide receivers on the line of scrimmage to try and bump them because they're so big. Wayne Font's defense has got to lay back a little bit, and Brad Johnson's just eating them alive.
Jake Reed, who came into the weekend leading the NFL in receiving yards, just got his 7th touchdown. And Brad Johnson has thrown to 7 different receivers, 13 out of 17, 124 yards, and 2 scores. Minnesota has been unstoppable tonight by Detroit.
All he does, Mike, is sit down on the inside. We talked about the slot receivers. Chris Carter having a good... There he is. He's just going to run down and sit right in this area. As the zone bails out, there's this big hole that Brad Johnson has a chance to throw into. Just sit right there, right in the hole. Now you fight for the next 3 yards, touchdown. Watch him gun this thing. He's got a big, strong arm. He does something I could never do. He throws the ball so nice and tight that the receivers only have one end to look at. I gave him both ends because it wasn't quite as tight.
Brad Johnson with the celebration, and maybe even celebrating more than that 1 touchdown pass. They have started renegotiating his contract because he'll be a free agent. They want to get done before the end of the year. And if you want to talk domination, 20 minutes to 7:29 so far. They have had 3 long drives, and it's just been a wonderful performance by the Minnesota Vikings, who 3 weeks ago were left for dead. Berger to kick to Milburn and Matthews. Milburn 7 yards deep, and he decides not to take it out. Prime Monday, tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Mike Tirico, Joe Theismann, and Sterling Sharp preview the Monday night game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. We'll have live reports from the Oakland Coliseum. Chris Mortensen with the latest NFL news, and backstage with Dan Saliamoa. Tomorrow night on Prime Monday. Herman Moore back in the lineup.
That's Brian Bellick talking to the offensive line. Brad Johnson walks away. He says, Coach, I know what you want.
I'm already doing it. Mitchell with the quick out, knocked away by Dwayne Washington. Excellent play. It was intended for Perriman.
These two guys really, Mike, are not the best of friends. I mean, they have got a nice friendly rivalry going. Last year in Thanksgiving Day, Brett Perriman really took Dwayne Washington apart because Dwayne had a hurt shoulder and Brett was jawing at him. And since that time, this thing has become more than just the Vikings-Lions. It's become personal between Dwayne Washington and Brett Perriman, which is why I love matchups like that. You know, guys get fired up to go after one another.
He said, I can't wait. And so far, he has been terrific. Mitchell with time. This one to Herman Moore, and he is laced again, this time by Corey Fuller. And we have reached the 2-minute warning in Pontiac. Minnesota with 3 impressive drives and a 10-point lead. William Clay Ford, the owner of the Detroit Lions, who has seen his club knocked out in the first round of the playoffs 3 straight years. He said he expects more. If they don't get farther than that, changes will be made. About the only change you can envision that has not been made here is Wayne Fontes losing his job, and there are a lot of signs in this ballpark tonight that say the fans agree with that philosophy.
And I think that statement alone put a lot of undue pressure on Wayne Fontes. He's had his ball club in the playoffs the last 3 years in a row.
Mitchell throws short on 3rd down. Excellent coverage in the secondary. Morton was the closest man to it. Joe, one thing that happens is when you get in the playoffs 3 years in a row, you have raised the expectation level of a franchise that struggled for a long time, and you become a victim of your own success.
I think you do, but then when the owner puts that kind of onus on you right in the beginning, you know, it takes a while. Hey, Mike, there are people that haven't gotten to the playoffs at all, and then they're making changes. I mean, he's 22-6. In '89 in the latter part of the season.
And that's the way he has saved his job on the Wayne watch before. 3rd and 10 for Mitchell. Throws short, complete to Perriman, and he runs for the first down. Nice job by Brett Perriman. He catches the pass short of the sticks, makes a move, and keeps the chains going.
It's a good move by the Detroit Lions. They're going to go no huddle so that the Vikings can't substitute.
Mitchell with a quick out to Perriman. Perriman turns inside instead of going out of bounds.
Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, is doing this so that the Minnesota Vikings can't get their first down personnel back on the field. He's making them match up with his wide receivers.
The Lions have only 1 timeout left. Remember, even the defense burned one earlier. Mitchell hit just as he threw, falling away. Dwayne Clemens, number 92, was coming after him.
You know, I didn't think, even though it's a 2-minute drill, Mike, I didn't necessarily think they had to come to the line right away. I liked when Tom Moore decided to do that. People boo Scott Mitchell because he throws the ball out of bounds. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, he only has 1 timeout left, so you've got to keep that in mind.
Hey, when you're losing, they'll boo Santa Claus when he shows up in a couple of weeks. 3rd and 4. Mitchell with a short set, now forced out. Throws deep. Herman Moore, what a catch! He turned Corey Fuller around. Fuller did not see the ball. Herman Moore made the catch, but there's a marker down where the catch was made.
I'll tell you something. If for no other reason, this guy should go to the Pro Bowl. Because he is making those kind of plays. That's the 2nd great play he's made tonight. He made one before, going inside and coming
Pass
back.
interference, number 27 defense. Penalties declined. First down.
This is unbelievable. Herman Moore never quits on the ball. Scott Mitchell is back. This is a quick post. He doesn't get it. Now he's trying to go someplace for his quarterback. The ball is thrown way inside. He just turns around and makes the reception with 1 hand. Boy, that's great confidence Scott Mitchell has in Herman Moore. I mean, Corey Fuller has got his left hand wrapped up.
5 catches, 96 yards for Herman Moore so far. He is working on his 5th 100-yard game of the season. Mitchell in trouble, throws short. Perriman wrapped up at the 12. Clock running, 45 seconds left. Lions with 1 timeout. Barry Sanders has not touched the ball on this drive. Lions using a lot of time right here. Mitchell under pressure, throws incomplete. Intended it for Derek Price, who was 7 yards deep in the end zone.
And Brett Perriman, the wide receiver on the left, lost his shoe on the last play, threw it back around the 30-yard line, and really, look, now he's going back. He went that whole play with 1 shoe. Hard to run on AstroTurf when you only got 1 tire, Mike. Listen, but watch this. Watch him right there. See his foot? Whoa! Doesn't have a whole lot of traction out there. Now, The Lions still have one timeout left, and they're going to use it now.
They just used it here. The clock had stopped on the incompletion, and they end up burning the timeout anyway.
I don't think it's... they were either going to use it now or the next one.
Yeah, but here's what happens. Suppose you throw a short pass. It's 3rd and 7. You get a pass that's only for 5 yards. You've got to get the field goal team on there. You can't down the ball.
I think 27 seconds is plenty of time for you to be able to get your field goal unit ready. What they have to do now, as a coaching staff and as a special teams coach, Frank Novak's going to have them there. Everybody's right on the sidelines. The field goal unit is right there, right next to the coach. As soon as the ball is caught, if he doesn't make it, bang, they're right out. That's what Wayne's talking to Frank about right now.
Now, the reason they called it, or at least the apparent reason, is that Perriman was down, couldn't get the shoe back on. That's Don Mikowski over there with Tom Moore, the backup quarterback. So they wanted Perriman in there, so they needed to call the timeout to get his shoe back on. But they have to make sure that they either get the first down so they can go up and kill it, or throw it into the end zone, or get out of bounds.
I think you throw this one into the end zone.
Third down and 7. Both teams have done very, very well on third down situations. 4-man rush. Mitchell into the end zone. Perriman leaping grab out of bounds. The official rules he would have come down out of bounds on his own. And I think it's a good call.
Oh, yeah, he's way out of bounds on this one. The ball actually takes him that way, but Scott Mitchell was not going to underthrow it. He did a smart thing, protecting the opportunity for a field goal. Perriman turns up. Now, even though he leaps inbounds, you see his momentum just carries him so far away, and he dropped it anyway.
Corey Fuller did a nice job getting over there. 29-yard field goal attempt from Jason Hansen. Little trouble with the snap, but they get it down, and Hansen knocks it through. So the Lions cut it to a 1-touchdown lead.
And also, Mike, we've talked about this before. That was very important for the Detroit Lions on offense. They had to give their defense a little rest. Now that defense goes out, looks like it's going to be the end of the half. They're going to get a few more minutes to rest at halftime so they can come back a little fresher.
ABC's Monday Night Football comes your way tomorrow night, 9 Eastern. One of the most intense rivalries in the history of the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs go to Oakland to take on the Raiders.
There's a name you haven't heard in a while, the Jeff George Bowl.
Absolutely.
I think, you know, he's expressed interest in wanting to go to Kansas City, and of course Mike White, who coached him at Illinois, is the head coach of the Raiders, so who knows?
Chris now qualifies as a coach, I guess. And Terry Bradshaw's in there too. Scott Mitchell's had a pretty good first half for this Detroit offense. They've only scored 10 points, but he's thrown the ball well and been under some pressure. Hansen to kick to Palmer and Ismail. There's Condry, averaging 18-6 a return. Squib kick. Taken by one of the up men back to the 40-yard line. It's Scott Kolakowski, a backup linebacker. Excuse me, Richard Brown. And here is Brad Johnson, who's been sensational so far, throwing mostly underneath, but he's really been on target. This is his 6th start of the year. He has already been named NFC Offensive Player of the Year twice in the first 5 starts. That's not bad. I'm sorry, did I say Player of the Year? Player of the Week twice. And the Vikings decide that they are going to take it into the locker room with a 17-10 halftime lead. That's the end of the first half. Minnesota 17, Detroit 10. Now let's join Chris Berman. The The Vikings on top of the Lions 17-10 here at halftime in the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. A crowd of about 40 to 50,000 on hand in this cavernous facility. First half stats, time of possession more than 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. They had 3 sustained drives that really ate up the clock. And look at the third down conversions. 8 out of 9 for Minnesota. I mean, this is unheard of.
And well, but Mike, this isn't unusual, though. It may be unheard of. This is the way the Minnesota Vikings have been doing it over the last 3 games.
Lions will get the ball to start the second half. Milburn from the 4. That burst. Glenn Milburn out to the 35-yard line. Scotty Graham makes the tackle on special teams. Minnesota got a big dose of Barry Sanders early. 4 carries in the first 5 plays, 27 yards. The last 19 plays, he's touched it twice.
I think what happens sometimes, coordinators get sucked in by the other things that are going on. I think Tom Moore got away from Barry a little bit because Minnesota was moving the ball so well. Now I wouldn't be surprised to see him get Barry Sanders back into the flow of this offense.
Play action. Mitchell throws intended for the tight end, Derek Price. Harlan Barnett, the closest man on the coverage. So they use Sanders as a decoy on that play to set up play action.
Just not going with the strength of your football team. I mean, Derek Price is not going to catch a lot of balls in this offense.
Mitchell throws outside Herman Moore with a short gain, only about 3 yards up to the 40-yard line. Of course, people are very aware of Barry Sanders. You put 8 men in the box. The conventional wisdom is, well, then you throw. But you can't let people take a weapon like Barry Sanders away that easily, can you?
No, what you do is you basically take it away yourself. You make people stop your weapon. You don't just not use it.
3rd and 7. Vikings come with a blitz. Mitchell, nice scramble to get out of trouble, but then he can't make anything more out of it. The Vikings came, and John Randall chased down the play.
The big book on Scott Mitchell is if you can get a push up the middle, you create problems for him and not allow him to step up. John Randall just comes hard up inside. He starts at the end position and just forces up the middle. Now you got the motor man chasing him down. He's all over that defensive line. He plays in every spot.
David Palmer waiting on the first punt from Mark Royals. Trying to get to the outside, now cuts it back and dives near the 30-yard line, where Corey Schlesinger out of Nebraska is down to make the tackle. 10-yard return after a punt of 41.
ESPN Sunday Night NFL is brought to you by Corbel Champagne. Corbel, for people who know champagne. By MasterCard. MasterCard, it's smart money. And by Michael Jordan Cologne.
The Detroit Lions trailing the Minnesota Vikings 17-10, 13:28 to go, third quarter. Vikings take over at their own 29-yard line. Johnson to throw on first down. A quick out to Reed. Good coverage by Ryan McNeil. Held it to a very short gain. And McNeil is the man who's injured on the play. Well, he's holding his legs like he has cramps.
I think one just hit him real hard, actually in both legs. Brad Johnson just continues to work the ball underneath. The Vikings on offense have not gone up top. There it is. That's a 15-yard line, and that's where you see him throwing the football. He tried one shot down deep, and that's it. Swinging it out of the backfield. Brad Johnson doing exactly what Brian Bellick wants him to do. Get rid of the football quick. Get the matchups that we want. Our running backs on their linebackers. Throw the quick ones to set up a pump and go possibly with the wide receivers. It's a master plan, and Brian is playing it out.
The last 8 drives, how's this for production? 7 touchdowns and a field goal. He says, I think I've gotten better every day because of the comfort of being in the position and the timing. Defensive coordinators is saying, would you stop getting better? This is fine right here.
Plus, he also says that he wants all the work he can get in practice. It used to be when Warren Moon was the quarterback, he worked on Fridays. Now, Warren's not getting much work on Fridays. Brad wants as much as he can so that he can see more on the other side of the ball.
McNeil is still down. Well, you wanted every snap during practice.
Yeah, I insisted on it. And part of it was that you only have a limited amount of practice time during the week, and you need to look at as many things as you can and make sure your receivers see the same things that you are. Like, for example, on some of these routes out of the backfield, when he's throwing to Amp Lee, he wants to make sure that if that linebacker just starts outside a little bit, Amp can expect the ball coming out of the break. So you can sit in films and talk about it. Ryan McNeil just closes up on Jake Reed. He gets down low. Now watch, he's going to bounce right up. Okay? He's fine. And then all of a sudden, bang, there go the cramps. Well, so right after that step.
They'll try to get some fluid in him on the sideline and work on those calves. If you've ever had him, it feels like an injury. It hurts like the devil.
Feels like somebody put a rock in there. I mean, he's really having trouble putting any pressure on his legs.
Greg Jeffries, number 25, has to come in and play the corner. Leroy Horde gets a couple out of it. The play selection so far, the Vikings 19 runs and 19 passes. The Lions, who have Barry Sanders, have thrown the ball 20 times, and they've run it 7.
But keep in mind, of those 7 runs, 4 of the first 5 were Barry Sanders. So, I mean, they've hardly used him at all. Brian Billick doesn't mind. As long as Barry Sanders is not being utilized, makes his offense a little easier.
And Brian Billick has used every weapon he's got. They've really spread the ball around. 3rd and 3. Johnson with excellent protection to Amp Lee. Got the first down, forced out of bounds by Greg Jeffries. Johnson seems to be one of those guys who can find not only the 3rd option, but the 4th or a 5th if there is one.
Yeah, Mike, but if you have this much time, if you wanted 6th and 7th options, you could get it. Look at him go back in the pocket. I mean, you're talking about big people. Jeff Christie, the center, Dave Dixon doing a great job, and he can just step out. And there's nobody out there. Amp Lee just runs wild out into the flat.
Toward the single setback. Leroy will get the carry. Dances outside. Nice move by Leroy Horde. This guy is no flash in the pan. He was the starting fullback for the AFC in the Pro Bowl in '94. Had a career year that season, rushed for 890 yards, caught 45 passes. He's a complete player.
And also, Leroy told me yesterday, he said, you know, Joe, I can make a case for every player in the National Football League not to have to go to training camp because I've learned 3 offenses in 14 weeks in the National Football League, and he started in all of them. So, I mean, he's picked them up just like that.
There's McNeil, and they're going to have to take him off on the cart. Lions show blitz. Johnson in trouble and does a smart thing and throws it away. The other thing about Leroy Horde, he had 95 yards rushing last week. That's prize, a 100-yard game. They took him out of the game. They said, you want to go back in and get to 100? He says, no, we're winning. I want to play the rest of the year. No sense to go back in for one silly play. McNeil in obvious discomfort. They'll take him to the locker room on the cart. And we have not heard anything official from Detroit. 3rd and 4. Look at this, 9 out of 10. That means the defense never gets off the field. Johnson finally brought down.
Robert Bourget just does a wonderful job of not quitting and not giving up.
Ellis and Bonham, everybody ended up having a shot at him.
Luther Ellis, number 94, just keeps working and working. You see him come inside against Dixon. Then he comes around on the outside. And now he just hangs on. And the good thing is he had a shot at Johnson and got it.
Luther Ellis has been very tough when he's been healthy. He's had a problem with the knee injury. Fair catch by Milburn. 43-yard punt and no return. It's still a 7-point ball game. The Lions defense finally did his job. They stopped Minnesota. Are we going to get a big dose of Barry Sanders here, or is he still going to be a decoy?
No, I would think it's time to get Barry Sanders back into this game. I mean, you're only down by 7, so you don't have to change your game plan and take him out of it and just throw the football. I think that Tom Moore has got to get the ball back in Barry Sanders' hands and at least try and get some kind of a drive going to make sure that defense can continue to rest.
Sanders is a proud McGinty. He wants to join the family.
One of our cousins.
Sanders, as the crowd erupts with a cheer. Flag is down as Sanders gets it out to the 22-yard line. Jeff Brady, the middle linebacker, was in on the stop, and this run will come back. So they try to use Barry Sanders on first down. Now they'll be faced with this 1st and 20.
See, I think Barry Sanders presents the same kind of problems for offensive linemen that a scrambling quarterback does.
Holding, number 30, offense. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's Corey Schlesinger, his fullback.
You're not quite sure where he's going to go, Mike. You know, on the backside, you've got to hang on to your blocks as long as you can, and sometimes you wind up grabbing people. Same problems you get when a quarterback that runs around a lot and can come out anywhere.
I think the truth be known, until the last instant, he doesn't know where he's going either.
I agree.
He's got that great little jump step where both feet go off the ground. Then he makes a cut seemingly even before he comes back down. Sanders on 1st and 20. Big haul up the middle. Barry Sanders. That's why you give the ball to Barry Sanders.
And that's why he leads the league in so many categories of runs over 10, 20, 30. That one was 38 yards.
It's the first Sanders carry for the Lions in their last 3 drives.
Derek Price, number 82, seals the inside on number 95, Fernando Smith. And now Barry's into the secondary. Now you can't catch him. Look at this move. Such power. Now he turns the speed on, and Herman Moore is going to give him a little escort.
Ron Rivers, number 34, will come into the backfield to give Sanders a breather. Mitchell on first down, throws to Moore. Moore is just so great at catching the ball with his hands. He's got those huge hands, and they're so soft.
You know what's interesting, too, is he'll keep his hands up, almost like in a boxer's stance, because what he explained to me was it's easier for me to get my hands from up around my chest up over my head to make a play than if they're down around my hips or lower. I mean, he's such an intelligent receiver. He knows how to get advantages. He's like a Jerry Rice, and like I talked about Tim Brown.
Herman Moore with his 5th 100-yard game, the 24th of his career. 3 wide receivers set. Now keep it on the ground to Rivers. And Rivers close to a first down. Ron Rivers out of Fresno State with his 17th carry of the season. And Barry Sanders checks back in after the breather.
You know something? I think that coaches think that Barry's tired. I don't think Barry comes out of games. I think coaches think they want him to have a breather.
7 carries, 67 yards so far. Mitchell sidearms this one. Perryman gets slam dunked by Washington and comes up pushing him.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. Scott Mitchell had a shot at a touchdown. This is where a quarterback is not playing with confidence. He does try and just pick up the first down, but he's got Johnny Morton running down the sideline wide open. Watch Johnny Morton do this. He's going to wind up throwing the ball for the first down, but watch how he breaks out. Look at the guy going. Look at this right here. Stop that. Look at this thing right there. I mean, there's a guy who's just trying to keep a drive going. Can't fault him, but that's what a lack of confidence will do for you.
1st and 10. Sanders. Washington with a solid tackle. One of the funniest parts of our meeting last night with anybody is Dwayne Washington was in there, and you asked him, how do you tackle Barry Sanders? What do you do? And he just looked at us for about 10 seconds and said, I don't know. You can't tackle him.
Well, that time they made him go back inside for only a 4-yard gain.
Well, he said that's the only goal he has. Try not to let him get outside of it. And he did a good job that time. Sanders on the delay. Waiting for it this time. Middle linebacker Jeff Brady was the first man there. The guy who said, you put me in the middle, I can have an impact on a football team. And he has.
Jeff Brady does a good job of flowing. You still have to remain aggressive on defense. Right over here, you'll see him come up, defeat the block to make the play. You still see how he's aggressive? He's still moving forward, does a good job to defeat the blocks. Derek Price tries to get a half a shoulder on him. Got nothing.
3rd down and 6. Mitchell under pressure. Fernando Smith got it. Went over top of the rookie Jeff Hardings, and Fernando Smith now with 9.5 sacks, very quietly having a tremendous year as a defensive end, and that has taken him out of field goal range. David Palmer comes in to field the punt. Beautiful high spiral. Lets it go down inside the 5. Lions do a nice job. Jocelyn Borgella, backup defensive back, stops the ball inside the 5 after a punt of 40.
Gentlemen, stand back. It's head.
It's huge. Seattle and Jacksonville kick it off on ESPN Sunday Night NFL.
Symbols of the season outside the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. We don't know how much longer this will be the home of the Lions. They have a lease here until 2004. William Clay Ford says they won't break it, but they're trying to negotiate for it because the funding has been approved for a new downtown stadium beside the new Tigers Stadium. Johnson into the end zone to throw on 1st down. And incomplete for Carter. Good coverage by Jeffries.
Good job by Brad Johnson of not being irresponsible with the football. Threw it up the sidelines, a little bit out of bounds. Carter couldn't make the play for him.
You know, one of the reasons they would like a different stadium is with a capacity of over 80,000. The Detroit Lion fans, if they don't buy a ticket, don't have the opportunity to see this team play a lot.
That's right. See all the empty seats from this spot.
Johnson, short set, goes out to Carter. Nice job on the corner by Corey Raymond.
That time, Corey Raymond did a good job of closing on Carter. He didn't let him put a move on him, just came up and got more aggressive, closed the distance on him. Coordination between a quarterback and a receiver is so important. You know, Mike, it's that 1, 2, 3 step set. Don't hesitate, fire. The rhythm has got to be there. 3 steps correlate to 5-yard routes by the wide receivers.
3rd and 5. The crowd trying to pump up the defense. They need a stop. Caught at the 15 or no? Incomplete. And Chris Carter is fuming.
Oh, Herman Moore and Chris Carter are putting on a show tonight and a clinic of great catches. This is unbelievable. Watch his left hand. Watch where this ball is and watch his left hand. Look at that.
That's a catch.
It is. That ball did not leak out over the top. Look at it. He says, look, I got it.
Never touched the ground.
What a sensation.
Looked like Ozzie Smith. Glenn Milburn waits for the punt. That, folks, was a catch. Milburn from the 49. Gets a block. Still dancing around. That was a 2-yard return that took 40 seconds.
Looked like Barry Sanders on a run.
He did. and there's a marker down on the play. This could easily be a block in the back as many times as he changed direction, or a hold, or a clip.
Illegal block in the back. Number 36 on the return. 10-yard penalty. First down.
We've got a timeout with 5:17 to go. Third quarter, Chris Carter with a remarkable catch, overruled, and they have to give up the football. 17-10. We'll be back in a moment. Inside the Numbers, presented by Visa. Tonight's topic, dynamic duos at wide receiver. Over the last 3 seasons, Terrence Mathis and Bert Emanuel, 428 catches. Third best. The Lions' Herman Moore and Brett Perriman have snatched 518, second only to Minnesota's Chris Carter and Jake Reed, who have racked up a grand total of 538 receptions, the best in the league over the last 3 years. And you could do a lot worse than select those 4 guys to go to the Pro Bowl.
Oh. What a show they're putting on.
First and 10 from the 43. Play action. Mitchell and Morton at the sideline. Gain of 12, first down. Let's take a look at what those tremendous duos have done tonight. Carter and Reed, 7 catches between them and a touchdown. Moore and Perriman, 147 yards, 13 catches. Herman Moore with another 100-yard game. More flank to the top of your screen on first and 10. Sanders tried to cut it outside. And a good job by Harlan Barnett not to give him the outside shoulder.
You know, Mike, I think that's the mistake that some defenses make against Barry Sanders. They sit and wait for Barry to make a move. What Foge Fazio, the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, told me, we have to maintain our aggressiveness by our linebackers and give Barry fewer areas to go to. Here's the Foge.
Second and 11. The 4th time tonight Sanders has been held for no yards or loss of yards. Draw play. Got by Brady. Jeff Brady is still looking for Barry Sanders. He had him right in his sights, and all at once he was gone. I mean, gone.
And you know, the other thing too, Mike, is the Detroit Lion defense has got an awful lot of heat this year because they've been on the field so much. They got off the field now to get that offense back out there. That Detroit Lion offense has really got to generate some first downs. This is the second time they're looking at a possible 3 and out. Doesn't help Wayne's defense out one bit.
They're facing a 3rd and 9. Mitchell runs out of pressure. Throws complete down to the 34-yard line, then a battle for the ball. If it's simultaneous possession, it goes to the offense, and Johnny Morton will get the catch. Dwayne Washington was right there with him. And that is very close to a first down. Maybe the length of a football short. What do you do, Coach?
I'll tell you, first thing you do is you call for a measurement. You insist on a measurement. You can do it as a quarterback. You can ask for a measurement. Okay, the Lions have decided not to because, there it is. See, that's what I do. I'm the quarterback. I insist on a measurement because, you know, Wayne's got a decision to make here.
Exactly.
If it's a long yard, maybe you try the long field goal, but it also affects your play calling.
And this gives you time to think. You know, am I going to go for it on 4th down, or am I going to do something else?
This gives Tom Moore a chance to talk it over with Scott Mitchell a little bit and make a decision. Anytime it's this close. See, I don't care if it's a 1/3 of a yard, a 1/2 a yard, a 1/4 of a yard. You still take the time to measure so you know exactly what you're looking for. Plus, I'll tell you what else it does. It gives the running back, if he's carrying the ball, a visual spot to go after so that you know he can get that mark.
Of course, the Lions only 2 out of 11 on 4th downs. That's dead last in the NFL. One of the reasons they don't use Barry Sanders as a short yardage runner, he is not a power back. But he's the only guy there right now, except for Mitchell, who can sneak it. Play action. Mitchell running for the first down. He's got it and gets out of bounds.
Well, Mike, I got to be honest with you. If I'm Coach Fazio, of the Minnesota Vikings defense. That's the last thing I expect on 4th and 1. That's a good call by Tom Moore. Derek Alexander has got contain on Scott Mitchell. You'll see him down here, number 90. Here he comes up the field. Oh, no. That was the thought that went through his mind. Oh, no. Let Scott get outside.
Well, you get two numbers back there, 20 and 19. The last one you expect is 19. Mitchell just throws that one away, and that was not much of a play-action fake to Barry Sanders.
Well, the thing, quite often, I think with a runner like Barry Sanders, and in a lot of instances, the running back can really help the fakes out. As a quarterback, you want to get the ball down, and you got to get your head up to see where you want to throw it. Boomer Esiason does a great job of staying with it because he can pre-read defenses real well. I felt that Joe Montana was just fabulous. I used to study both of them to learn how they did it.
2nd and 10. Sanders, swarm, loss of 2. Keep in mind, the Lions have not been mathematically eliminated yet. This is a more than a pride game for them. And the Vikings are right in the middle of it.
They are. And the thing is, you've got to get Barry Sanders caught up on all sides. Watch when the ball is snapped. You're going to see how the defense, as they move, see how they just hold their position so well. Right there, you stop. See how here's a guy outside, here's a guy inside, here's a guy coming this way, here's a guy coming that way. That means that we got Barry every way he wants to go.
It will be 3rd and 12 with a minute and a half to go, 3rd quarter. 4-man rush. And I'm not sure what that was.
That was a quarterback who couldn't step up into the middle. Minnesota's defense did exactly what they wanted to. They don't allow Scott Mitchell the opportunity to step up into the pocket. Therefore, he has to short arm it and drop it down. He's a big guy. He works the middle of the pocket. See how he steps forward? You see how the pressure's coming in on him? He has no place to step.
So they'll go for the long field goal try, 48 yards. Hansen missed earlier from 48. He gets this one through. Jason Hansen on the board from 48 yards out. 17-13. Only a 4-point game late 3rd quarter. Vikings on top of the Lions, 17-13. A 48-yard field goal has made it a 4-point game. Here's how big this game is for Minnesota. A win tonight, they would tie Philadelphia and Washington, 2 teams who have lost their games, for 2nd place as those 3 teams fight for 2 wild card spots.
And they hold all tiebreakers there, too.
Yes, they do. And they play Tampa Bay and then at Green Bay. And even if they finish at 9-7, they would have the tiebreaker advantage over Philadelphia if that's the way it ends up. Who would have thought the Vikings would be in this good shape a month ago? Palmer, a yard deep. Still on his feet, driven out of bounds outside the 25. Join ESPN Thursday evening for a night of gridiron greats. It starts at 7:30 with a Pro Bowl selection show. Watch as we announce this year's squads. Then at 8:30, we honor the top collegians, coaches, and teams on the Home Depot College Football Awards Show. It's a night of gridiron greats from Walt Disney World in Orlando, Thursday beginning at 7:30.
Most teams will be voting tomorrow for the Pro Bowl as well.
Yes, sir. And there's a guy who ought to go, John Randall. We haven't seen the forklift moves tonight, but it's not for lack of trying. Leroy Horde held up by Pepper Johnson.
There's a case where, when you talk to the coaches of the Detroit Lions, they'll tell you that Pepper's legs can't take him where his mind wants him to go anymore. But if he doesn't have to run very far and he can patrol that inside triangle, he's still real tough to run on.
Been one of the real great run stoppers for 11 years. And the defense in the second half has really shut down Minnesota, held them to 15 total yards. Johnson wants the screen, and Horde can't hold it, and probably just as well for him that he dropped the ball. Shane Bonham got into Brad Johnson, and then Henry Thomas was out there covering Horde on the screen.
See, Mike, I like to evaluate coaches by their ability to make adjustments at halftime. Jim Eddy, I think, has done a terrific job with this Lion defense, adjusting to what hurt him, what the Vikings were doing on offense. I felt that Joe Gibbs was one of the greatest halftime adjusters I'd ever been around. And Jim Eddy has just done a fabulous job with this defense, making some subtle changes.
Ampley checks in on 3rd and 9. Johnson hit as he throws. Tremendous pressure by Robert Porcher. Luther Ellis was also there, and once again, the Lions defense comes up big.
And that came from just the front four.
That's the end of the 3rd quarter. Detroit still alive and playing with a lot of emotion in a 4-point game.
Wow, Daffy Duck, you're the greatest.
17-13. Mike Patrick, Joe Theismann, Mark Malone, our ESPN crew with you. And now there is a discussion over where the ball ought to be marked. The ball is spotted at the 27-yard line as we change ends of the field, but that's where it was before the sack. So they're marking it 7 yards short of where it ought to be.
What they're trying to say is, I don't believe it was a sack. I think Jerry Markwright is saying it was an incomplete pass.
Well, Mitchell was trying to throw the ball when he got hit.
Doesn't look like we're going to get the explanation, but that's the only assumption we can make. Well, there he is back there now. There's the pressure by Porcher. I don't think it's an incomplete pass. Vikings got a little bit of a break.
So the Vikings picked up 7 yards on the ruling. Low line drive punt. Milburn can't field it now, says stay away from it, and what a break for Minnesota. There is a low line drive kick to one of the most dangerous return men in football, and it takes a bounce away from him.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if he gets up and makes a play on it, he's running full speed at you. Instead, lucky bounce.
Berger's had a tough year, the lowest net in the NFL. And Milburn just shaking his head over a lost opportunity.
You know, too, Mike, Glenn Milburn's situation is a little bit of a lost opportunity, too. Here's a guy who was so productive for the Denver Broncos and really has been no part of any offensive plays when he came here.
Such a tremendous receiver coming out of the backfield, extremely dangerous, but they go with a one-back set more often than not. And here's the one, Sanders. What a move to get outside and finally drugged down by the collar by Fuller after Sanders had juked him out of position. Herman Moore threw a good block for him.
I think part of the reason why Barry Sanders is able to make the runs he is because the great job his wide receivers do. There's Herman Moore on Barnett. He just boxes him out a little bit and allows him to get one-on-one with Fuller. And that's so important in wide receivers to make them complete football players, their ability to block.
Sanders, 13 carries, 78 yards. Lions can take the lead with a touchdown. Sanders straight up the middle and wrapped up by Fernando Smith as he dives forward for a first down.
Jim Eddy on the right there, talking to his defense. Good teacher. You know, he's not screaming and yelling. He's teaching. He's telling his troops, hey, you guys are doing a good job. Keep it up. You got to, move around a little bit.
Quiet, unassuming gentleman. Sanders on the toss. If there's any kind of a crack, he finds it and picks up 11 yards. Let's go to Mark Malone. Mark?
Thanks, Mike. John Randall in our Packard Bell spotlight, one of the premier defensive tackles this league has seen in a long time. He's done a pretty good job against Barry Sanders in the pass tonight. Check him out right here, playing the cutback off the rookie Hardings. Does a great job making ground. And watch the stunt here. Watch how much speed he generates to get to the rookie Hardings. Bang! Creates separation right there. Look at that. Knocks him back and is able to chase Mitchell out of the pocket and finally make the play. He's had a hard night, a lot of work in there, but he's helping his football team, Mike.
Always does, Mark. 2nd and 1. Sanders trying to get outside. Barnett came up in a hurry along with Smith. Let's go back to Mark.
All right, Mike, so far here are the numbers on John Randall. Nothing real spectacular. He's been double-teamed 10 out of 44 plays. They've rushed at him 3 times, only 7 yards. He's got 1.5 tackles, one of those, of course, for the loss on the cutback. 2 quarterback pressures. He's working hard.
And one of the great inside pass rushers in the history of the National Football League. First down, Detroit at its own 46. 12 minutes, 34 seconds to go in the game. Mitchell into flat, nearly picked off, but caught by Price. Derek Price with his first catch. The rookie, his first catch in the NFL.
Nice,
almost picked.
Yeah, but nice concentration. He manages to snatch it out of the air and get it into himself. It's coming right down low to you. Number 82 releases out into the flat. Mitchell sets strong. There's the play. Dwayne Washington thought he had one, and it winds up going the other way. See him slap his hands. Darn.
And Price breathing a little easier as he saw a Minnesota uniform flash by. First down at the Minnesota 40-yard line. Mitchell, play action. Sidearms it to Moore. Herman Moore. Wrapped up by Washington, very close to another first down at the 30. So now Detroit is giving Minnesota some of its own first half medicine. They're controlling the ball.
Right, you saw that. What's really set that play up was Barry Sanders has carried the football. Now all of a sudden Scott Mitchell gives him a little fake. You have to respect it. That opens up the passing lanes for Herman Moore.
Sanders with 90 yards. He has already passed John Riggins to go into the 7th spot all time on the NFL rushing list. Still 5,000 yards behind Walter Payton. Sanders needed one more block to break it. Got down to the 25.
Once he started, it looked like it almost got to second gear. I mean, that thing almost got out of first. Watch the explosion. Scott Mitchell doing a good job looking downfield. Now, here he goes. There's the hole. Here it starts. John Randall just doesn't let him get it out of gear.
17 carries, 95 yards. This would be his 6th 100-yard game of the year. Mitchell, short set, out in the flat. Herman Moore. First down. Just reaches those big hands out and snatches it out of the air.
Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, has got a really nice mix going now. It's Barry Sanders, even on second and long, give me a little bit of Barry, but throwing the ball short so that his quarterback, Scott Mitchell, doesn't have to stand back in that pocket a long time. Got a real nice rhythm going on offense now. I think that Minnesota's they've got to disrupt it by bringing some linebackers or bringing some safety people.
Moore now has 126 yards on 9 grabs. So the two superstars doing their jobs. They're down by 4, though. Play action Mitchell under pressure. Harlan Barnett makes the sack back at the 20.
That's what you do.
Bursich was also there.
That's what you do. You bring linebackers and defensive safeties off the corners. That allows the other linebackers to fill inside. You run a play action thing. That's nowhere to go. Barry Sanders being called upon to block. He doesn't get it on Harlan Barnett. And Scott Mitchell really had nowhere to go.
2nd and 14. The clock really being eaten up by this drive, and now the Lions are going to take a timeout to talk about it on a critical drive for them, down by 4.
ESPN Sunday Night NFL is brought to you by Beck's. Taste German beer at its finest. Beck's, America's favorite German beer. By DirecTV, satellite TV at its best. And by Gateway 2000, personalized computers shipped factory direct.
The Detroit Lions trying to cling to that thread of life they have left. They're down by 4. An impressive drive here, but they face 2nd and 14. Flags come down late, and Mitchell hit as he throws.
Good job by Scott Mitchell using the hard count. We saw Brad Johnson use it in the first half. Now Scott Mitchell comes back on a 2nd and long, figuring they're going to come off the ball. gets the Vikings line to jump.
Number 91, defense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
They're calling on Martin Harrison, but he had company. It's only the second flag against the Vikings tonight in a relatively penalty-free game. So instead of 2nd and 14, it's 2nd and 9. John Randall is yet to get that first sack. Mitchell again, short set, hit as he throws. Moore can't get it. Herman Moore double covered in the end zone and couldn't pull it down before he ran out of real estate.
That time Scott Mitchell just doesn't get enough time because John Randall is all over him. He's standing up, not down in a three-point stance. Zephyrus Moss tries to come out and block him, but you can't, you can't block a guy who's 5'9" down low. He just doesn't get knocked down. And there's the play almost by Herman Moore.
So what a job Randall did, keeping him away from his feet and maintaining his balance. 3rd and 9. Mitchell throws short. Perriman. And Perriman wrapped up at the 13 by Griffith. Well short of the first down. And here comes the field goal team.
The Lions offense didn't do anything foolish. You're in a close game. You have to call the game and play it like it's a close game. You don't need to force it in the end zone. You throw it off to the guy that's open, give your field goal kicker to make it a 17-16 game. You call the plays according to the flow of the game.
This would get them to within 1. This will be from 31 yards. Hansen has already hit from 30 and 48 after missing from 48. And knocks it straight through. Jason Hansen with 3 field goals, and we have a 1-point game in Detroit. One-point Viking lead. John Randall doesn't have the sack yet, but Joey's getting closer.
Well, Mike, he plays in a lot of different places on that defensive line. 4 spots on the defensive line for him to play in, and he tries to utilize the area. You'll see he's playing over the left guard. That's where 14 are. That's where he normally plays. Then he moves outside to the end position. Played there 10 times. Then he went over the right side. Didn't really like it over there. Now he comes in here, has 22 times. What he'll do is he'll look at that offensive line, and he'll try and find a weak link. That's what Joe Bugle, the offensive line coach and coordinator of the Raiders, told us. He says Randall just looks for the guy that he thinks is going to be the weak link and then wear him out. So far, he hasn't found one for Detroit.
And you don't want to be selected either.
No.
1-point game with 8:31 left to go. Palmer from the 2. Good wedge in front. David Palmer out of Alabama to the 34. The worldwide leader in sports brings you the first 24-hour all-sports news network. ESPN News is now the place to turn for breaking news and in-depth stories in the world of sports. To get ESPN News, call your local cable operator or satellite program provider. Now, is Minnesota going to adjust on offense? Detroit has done a good job, as you pointed out, in the second half of making their adjustment.
I think what they have to do is they have to go back and do what they did in the first drives. You see, they had 14 first downs in the first 3 drives. They've got to go back to screens and short passes to the back.
Play action to Horde. Johnson throws downfield, has it complete to Chris Carter. He'll have a first down near his own 45-yard line. Of course, it's always a difficult decision. Do you go with your strength or their weakness? Do you take what they give you? What do you do?
Mike, I think you always go with your strength. I don't think you play into somebody else's hand. You make them stop what you do well. Play action, short passes is what the Vikings are doing well under Brad Johnson.
Horde, who's been shut down pretty well tonight, and Pepper Johnson will hold him to a gain of about 1.5 yards there.
Mike, this is the part of the game where in the last couple of weeks we've seen the Detroit defense sort of fall off the map. Other teams have taken and just run the ball down Jim Eddy's defense's throat. And now they're rested, they're fired up, and Minnesota's having a tougher time running the football.
They are 26th in the NFL against the run, giving up 127 yards a game. But tonight, Leroy Horde, 45 yards on 15 carries, so the Lions have done a much better job. Horde again on 2nd and 8. Big hole off the right side, and Leroy Horde lowers the shoulder and got enough yardage to pick up the first down. But that was a tough run.
It was a tough run, but what a great play by Benny Blades. He was trailing Leroy Horde all the way and then just sold out. I mean, he chased him all the way around, sold out to make the play. This is a guy who's been hurt and beat up. You'll see Benny Blades come around. There's number 36 chasing. Look at this. That's a 220-pound safety running him down.
Blades out of Miami, one of the toughest players you'll ever find in the NFL. Johnson, naked boot, and throws incomplete. Porsche did a nice job not buying the fake at all, and then not only being in the area, but applying pressure on Johnson.
Robert Porsche does a good job of staying home. Doesn't buy the fake. Look, you see his eyes? See him keep an eye on Johnson? That's good defensive play. Wouldn't have been much of a gain anyway.
Robert Porsche with a couple of sacks tonight, 10 for the year. That's a career high. Four-man rush, 2nd and 10. The pass underneath to Carter. Carter diving for as much yardage as he can get to the 36-yard line, a couple short of a first down. Pepper Johnson on the cover.
See, I think Minnesota on that play looked more like what they tried to do in the first half. I think, this gives you the option of trying to power it through. I would look for a little play action again, maybe another little dump off.
From here, it would be a 53-yard field goal attempt if they wanted to go for that. The numbers on Johnson after an exceptionally productive first half. He struggled a little.
You got to figure amply on a linebacker again.
Instead, they go with the same play the third time. It's worked that well all 3 times. Nobody in the hole, you go right up the middle.
What happens is Minnesota lines up in that same formation. Detroit defenses it the same way. And Brad Johnson does the same thing. Again, there's nobody in the middle. There's nobody there. I mean, Jeff Christie, the center's got to run 3 yards to block somebody.
I mean, if your quarterback can get 4 steps on a sneak before he's touched by anybody, you got something.
All you can do is squeeze your tackles down a little bit.
Play action by Johnson. He's got Evans wide open in the flat, but he's got Carter wide open in the end zone. Touchdown! Greg Jeffries beaten on the throw. Well, Johnson had his choice of guys who had 2 steps on defenders.
And Brad Johnson decided he wanted to go down the field.
Picked the right one.
Good play action fake, holds the linebackers, allows them to make the move up the field. Boom, got it. Greg Jeffries hung out to dry.
Chris Carter, 7 catches, 83 yards. And a flag is down on the extra point. We'll check the penalty with Jerry Markbright. Illegal participation. I assume they had 12 on the field.
Illegal participation. Yes. Michael, excuse me.
It sounds a lot worse than it is.
12 men on the field, on the defense. The extra point is good. Penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. 5 yards.
It's a 5-yard penalty. They'll step it off on the kickoff. Right now, it is an 8-point game. 4:56 left. Johnson with the bomb to Chris Carter. Vikings by 8 with 4:56 left. Chris Carter can reserve that catamaran ride for the Pro Bowl in Honolulu. He is on his way again. 4 straight years, over 1,000 yards. He's now up to 85 catches and has 8 touchdowns. What a player. What a player.
And that's going through an adjustment in an offense. You know, going from a Warren Moon who likes to go down the field to a Brad Johnson who's got a little bit different style, he still remained consistent.
Milburn and Matthews deep to receive. The ever-dangerous Milburn. He's had 3 chances from the end zone. He's brought 2 of them out. Berger does a nice job on the kickoff and crushes this one. Milburn 7 yards deep. Here he comes again. Glenn Milburn with a seam. Well, he gets a running start. He scares you to death. Corey Fuller makes the tackle on special teams. Lions have 4:44 left. Let's go back to the touchdown pass, the catch by Chris Carter.
There he is. He's going up against Greg Jeffries. Now, as he starts in motion, by him going in motion, it's hard to jam him. So he gets a free release. Now you have to respect the outside move. Jeffries bites just a second, and Carter just takes it straight up, and Brad Johnson just lays it right in. It's a little out and up, gone.
Nice throw by Johnson after the beautiful move by Carter. And now the Lions from their own 34-yard line. 4:44 left. They need or from the 29, excuse me, they need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Sanders on first down. Big hole. Barry Sanders keeps that balance and drives to the 44. Harlan Barnett with the saving tackle, a 15-yard gain, and Sanders up to 110 yards on the night.
When Barry Sanders has the football, there's no such thing as the backside, which would be to his right. You see how he comes all the way back? That's a good job. Derek Price still got to stay with the block a little bit longer.
Sanders again. Gaping hole. Look at the power. Sanders down to the 35-yard line.
I'll tell you, this offensive line has done a good job. Paul Boudreaux's guys are really opening some holes. He hits this thing in a heartbeat. Now he's up the field looking anywhere, looking for help. Look for Herman Moore to run behind and pick up a few extra yards.
Barry Sanders at 1,298 yards for the year. He'll get a breather. Rivers comes into the ball game. 3:30 left. Mitchell over the middle to the 2-yard line. Johnny Morton.
You know something, Mike? Johnny, you don't hear from Johnny Morton but maybe once or twice a quarter or a game, but all of a sudden, bang, it's a big play. This kid is a big play guy, and this is a great throw by Scott Mitchell. And a terrific job by the line, giving him a chance. He just fires this thing right down the hash. Johnny Morton makes the play. Gets tackled on the 2.
So you say you don't hear from him often, but when you hear from him, it's very loud.
It is. He's always making big plays.
First and goal. Sanders comes in as the deep man in the eye. Sanders trying to get outside. Got a block. Touchdown. Now they've got to go for 2 to tie it up.
I think you have to. You got to go for 2 here. You cannot afford to allow Minnesota to get the ball back with the lead they have.
Barry Sanders in this half, 14 for 105 in the half. Two-point conversion. What's your play here?
I think what you do is you get Barry Sanders maybe out of the backfield running one-on-one. I think that's a good matchup you can get. If you're at Minnesota, I think you go after Scott Mitchell.
And here they come. Mitchell throws, knocked away. Harlan Barnett got a hand on it. Intended for Morton, or Robert Griffith, excuse me, got a hand on it. Morton, the intended receiver, so the 2-point conversion fails.
Robert Griffith is a safety, but he can cover as well as a corner. You'll see him, right? Johnny Morton, number 87, pushes up in, right behind Perriman, but Griffith does a nice job of closing. Now, in this case, Barry Sanders does a really good job of protecting him. That's just excellent defense.
And you think about receivers coming back to the ball. If he comes back for the ball, he's out of the
He's out of the end zone, so he can't. And if he pushes it much further up in, he's closer to the defensive back. That's one of those instances where you analyze it, you just say, hey, good defensive play.
Maybe a decision here for the Lions. Do you go for the onside kick at this point? You have 2 timeouts left. You'd also have the 2-minute warning.
No, I think you kick it deep. You let your defense go play defense. Utilize the 2-minute warning. Utilize your timeouts. Because all you need is a field goal. You don't need to score a touchdown.
4-play, 71-yard drive for Wayne Font's Detroit Lions, and Denny Green still sees his team up by 2.
Minnesota's going to call a timeout now because they don't have their hands team, receiving team on the field. So what do I mean by hands team? That's the receivers and the tight ends and the guys that have good hands.
2:34 left to go. Remember, the Lions with 2 timeouts. So if their defense can hold on the first series, they would get the ball back with plenty of time left. Let's check in with Mark Malone. Mark?
Thanks, Mike. Right now we're going to take a look at the Lions secondary in our spotlight. They have been the difference so far in this football game in terms of giving up the big play. Early on, Ryan McNeil did a good job, aggressive with Carter down at the end zone, kept him out, no touchdown pass. But when he went out with cramps, they went to Greg Jeffries, and look at that, he gives big ground on Carter. And then, of course, you showed, Joe, the nice out and up move against the 4-year corner out of Virginia. Touchdown. It's been a tough night for the young man as he's come in for Ryan McNeil. Here are the numbers so far. They've thrown at the corners of Detroit 12 times. Opponent reception 7 for 80 yards and a touchdown. They've only made 3 passes defense. So far they've got McNeil, or excuse me. Back to you, Mike.
All right, Mark, let's see what the Lions do. They are going to go for the onside kick. And that ball goes out of bounds. Flags fly.
You know, Mike, I just don't agree with that one bit. I
right with
really
you.
don't. You've got enough timeouts to allow your defense to go out there. I mean, it goes out of bounds, so you give them good field position.
Especially when you only need a field goal.
And that's right. And even if they catch it, they're going to have it on the other side of the 50.
Short free kick out of bounds, 5-yard penalty by rule and a re-kick.
Now this is the rule I
The
don't
ball was
understand.
untouched by the receivers.
The team is trying to take advantage of getting an onside kick. They make a mistake and kick it out of bounds. They're only penalized 5 yards. Don't you think they should give up the ball? They will if they kick it out of bounds again. To me, this penalizes the receiving team.
I agree with you. But I don't agree with this decision.
No, I don't either. And you would hope they wouldn't do it again.
Oh, well, now he's 5 yards further back.
I don't think that changes at all. I'd go ahead and kick it away.
There's all the hands, guys. Jake Reed. Got all their hands people out there.
2:29 now on the clock. Hansen gets the big bounce, and Chris Carter comes up with a football. So now Minnesota with great field position. Detroit still in the same position.
That's a lousy coaching decision. You know, that is just, to me, that's not the way to do it. I mean, you know, your defense has played their tails off this second half. Your time of possession is back to even. Now what you've basically done is you've handed Minnesota with 10 yards. They wind up running in it, you know, wind up with a field goal. And heck, Chris Carter could have got him and run it on down.
And then they may make you go 80 yards for a touchdown with no timeouts left. I couldn't agree with you.
Now Detroit's got to burn their timeouts.
Leroy Hoard just trying to protect the football. He does more than that. Hoard cracks down to the 21-yard line. And now Detroit is in a whole lot of trouble. If you go back to the decision, if you kick the ball off and your defense holds, you get a normal punt. You may have the ball at your own 40-yard line, only needing to gain 25 yards to kick a field goal to win the game. Now they don't have it. That option is gone. 2-minute warning. Back in a moment. have just shown such character this year. And we'll run down all the bowl bids for you, followed by Primetime with Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, and Bill Pito with the complete wrap-up of today's action in the NFL. Scotty Graham, who has never fumbled to the 20. That's exactly why he is in there. The Lions will have one timeout left after this, so they can call timeout after second down, but they can't after third, and that'll cost them at least 45 seconds. So if they get the ball back at best, it will be with a minute and probably down by 4. The onside kick is going to be the big story in the newspapers tomorrow morning. Here's the Braun storyline from the Silverdome. The Vikings on top by 2. Johnson with another outstanding performance from Minnesota. Barry Sanders 134 yards rushing, 105 in the second half. And in the second half, Detroit really came on offensively, but they're still down by 2.
And their coaches did not give him a chance, did not give the Lions a chance to win this.
Absolutely.
I think Wayne Fontes is going to take full responsibility and heat for that decision.
And he can't take much more heat.
Nah, the kitchen's really cooking.
Second and 9. Dennis Green, on the other hand, his future is looking brighter in the last month. Graham pounds his way down to the 14. The Lions will use their last timeout as Shane Bonham makes the tackle. 1 minute, 48 seconds left to go in the game. Well, the Vikings were probably standing there saying, you know, if we recover this onside kick, we should just say a collective thank you.
Yeah, Dennis Green got handed a favor by Wayne Fontes. And, you know, I just hope that whoever is responsible for making a comment to the media tomorrow doesn't say, well, I got talked into something. You know, I mean, it just... Well, no matter how you sliced it up, Mike, I cannot understand the explanation as to why they would do it.
What even made it worse, they tried it once. The ball was knocked out of bounds, a 5-yard penalty. You still got a chance to change your mind and then kick it deep then, but they did it again. Been a lot of those signs around here. Of course, Wayne Fontes, you have to understand, the winningest coach in the history of this franchise. He's taken them to the playoffs the last 3 years, but he's also the losingest coach.
And when you ask him, about his future, he expects to be back.
3rd and 3, a first down, it's over. It's over. Scotty Graham inside the 7-yard line. Blades makes the tackle. The Lions are out of timeout and out of chances. They will go to 5 and 9. And William Clay Ford, who said he won't make a decision until the end of the year, at least publicly, may have already made up his mind tonight. And the Minnesota Vikings, hey, they have been on a roll since Brad Johnson became the quarterback of this football.
Well, Brad Johnson, Leroy Horde has given them a running game. They've gotten healthier on the defensive side of the ball. Next week, they will have available a healthy Warren Moon. If they want to make the change, I don't believe they will.
And now they'll just kneel down and kill the clock with 1:03.
Old friend of mine, you sing a song, Mike. Turn out the light. The party's over.
And there will be a party in Minnesota. Here's the wild card update through the conclusion of this game. San Francisco now out of first place in the NFC West. Do you believe it? They have a lock on the first wild card so far. Then Minnesota, Philadelphia, and Washington. Minnesota with the tiebreaker advantage. So this is a huge win for them tonight. And for Detroit, no chance of a playoff. And the decision by Wayne Fontes to go for the onside kick may just have sealed his fate.
Thank you for attending tonight's game. We'll see you next Sunday, December 15th. The Lions host.
Our final score. Minnesota wins it 24-22. Coming up next, Sports Center, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. The top stories they'll look at, the NFC West showdown, our conversation with Emmett Smith, and a complete rundown of the bowl bids. For Joe Theismann, Mark Malone, and our entire ESPN crew, this is Mike Patrick. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night from Pontiac, Michigan. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, as the Vikings take another step closer to the playoff. Sports Center